Hey everybody, Aaron here, and welcome back to another anime review. Today we are looking at GYO, or Tokyo Fish Attack, the movie. Now, if that title sounds familiar to you, maybe you have heard about the series, or more so movie. Maybe you heard about the manga. Now, the manga is done by Junji Ito, who I consider to be one of the best, if not the greatest horror manga artists slash creators of all time. Honestly, his works are sometimes a mixture of outlandish ideals and themes, all with these kind of creepy, tension-filled moments that are embedded in stories that are not only interesting to read, but just looking at them alone is just something else because they're just so crazy. I mean, you have stories that have characters being like ripped apart for no reason, and it's just like you're wondering why they were ripped apart, but it's always in a sense that there's some kind of meaning behind it, or there's some kind of odd paranormal aspect to it. And honestly, I love his works. I think he is still one of my favorite, if not all-time favorite manga creators out there in the world of horror manga, and especially just even regular manga. I think he's just that awesome. Now, what's great about his work is that, you know, seeing an anime version of it, even as a concept, was compelling to me. I thought like, oh hey, that's cool if he actually did do something like that. I was a little worried at first though, because I saw that GYO had some very bad rep behind it. If you look on MAL right now, it's got about a 5.67 on MAL, and it's been out for several years, so this is not something that's a new concept. A lot of people are reviewing this as a very bad movie. But I'll tell you guys and girls right now, as a manga fan of the original GYO, because obviously it is based off of manga series, and watching this movie now, I love this movie. I think that while it has some flaws, it is definitely a very good movie. I'll say that right now, and I'll give it a score obviously near the end of the review. But I'll say this right now, in case you're thinking, oh, maybe because he's a fan of Junji Ito, he's giving it like higher praise. I love a lot of horror stuff done by various authors and artists, and I'll tell you right now, sometimes, yeah, hey, like Stephen King, I've read a lot of Stephen King books. Does not mean that this guy makes non-stop great works. He's done plenty of crap before. Even with Junji Ito has done a few stories that are like, that's okay, that's not that great, and then he's done stories that are amazing, and those amazing ones are what I think are the more significant ones. So I will say right now that, yeah, okay, trust me, it's not like I'm a fan that I'm going to make it so all of his works are going to be in my mind 10 out of 10 right away. It's going to be like, oh, I'm just going to give it a perfect score because he did it. No, I don't do that. I think that I respect, obviously, the guy, and I think that he's an amazing creator, and he's one of my favorites, obviously, in that nature. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that everything he touches becomes gold, obviously. So, what makes this movie so great? What makes it so bad? You'll have to watch the whole review to figure it out. But let's start with the synopsis of the movie. So, our movie focuses on two soon-to-be married couple, Tadashi and Kaori. I might be slightly of his name, it might be Takashi, but I think it was Tadashi. Now, what's funny about this though is that they're right now enjoying a kind of separate vacation, because obviously Kaori is more so just trying to hang out with her friends, her girlfriends more so, and Tadashi's working inside a studio because apparently he does music stuff and all that. What's very weird though is that Kaori's vacation basically kind of diminishes when all of a sudden this weird kind of smell starts hitting the whole town that she's in. And even worse is then all of a sudden these weird fish creatures that have these mechanical legs start coming onto land. And at first it's like just one or two, but then it becomes several dozen, and then it becomes hundreds. Now, I can't go any further than that because if I do, it's going to start spoiling things, but think of this movie as a survival slash regular horror story, I'm going to say, like probably like that. There are times where there's some very piss poor lines. Like, I think that's more so the execution of the writing in the movie, because there are times, like, one of the weird quotes is when this one guy is talking to someone that did something very horrific, and I'm not going to say who it is or who the character is that's talking to him, but his line is like, "You're weird." And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you would say something way more, outlandish than that. I mean, you're weird? The guy's like a weirdo, like a complete weirdo, but he's not just weird, he's kind of crazy and a psychopath in many other measures. So he's not just weird, but that's the best line you can come up with. Sometimes also the animation, probably one of the weaker things of the show, even though this is done by Ufotable. So it's like, wait, what? This is done by Ufotable? Yes, it is done by the people that make Fate Zero and Unlimited Blade Works. It's crazy because you see this work and you think, wow, this is, remember, this is one of their early works, so you can't give it, you know, too much praise in your head. You can't go, oh, it's going to be just as epic as, you know, Unlimited Blade Works or Fate Zero or stuff, or anything like that, or even Tales of Zestiria, the X. This is at times very good looking, especially some of the CGI, which does have their quality behind it. You can tell it's their work. And then other times the character models and stuff like that are kind of hit or miss. It kind of hinders it a little bit. But it's never that bad. That's the thing about it, that I still think the animation is very good, despite being one of their earlier works. I just think that sometimes it's kind of weak, and it's definitely far from excellent. It's just good. I'll tell you right now, if you're a fan of the manga, do not go into this with just the thinking that it's going to be the exact clone of the manga adaptation. This is a different story in many ways. It has the same premises behind it, it has the same concept behind it, and there are plenty of references from the manga, obviously, but the whole story, even the focus of the main character, is completely shifted. Like, in the manga, Tadashi is actually the one who it focuses on solely, with Kaori being the secondary. And their companionship to in the story is more profound than this one is. While in the movie, obviously, you know, it's Kaori who is the main character, and it follows her and several other characters, but more so it doesn't really have the same companionship that it has with her in the manga. Now, the incidents that occur, though, are very similar, so manga fans will enjoy that, and you'll even enjoy that. Some twists and turns they do with some of the story and how they do it are actually pretty cool, so I like that in general with that. Music-wise, the music was excellent. I thought the music and voice acting was great. I only saw this in sub. I don't know if there's a dub version of it. I don't believe there is, off the top of my head, but there could possibly be one. I liked it. I think it worked very well. And I just think that, honestly, GYO was not a bad movie. I think that, you know, there's plenty of scares in it. There's plenty of these creepy, like, wow, that's what the hell is happening moments. You know, it's not going to horrify you in the sense like jump scares. Like, I don't think people should go into this thinking it's going to be like a zombie movie or even like a Paranormal Activity type movie. It's just creepy and outlandish, and some of the stuff that happens is almost, you see it on screen and you go, whoa, what the, you can't like look away from it, but you see this horrific things that happen on screen, and it just hits you and pounds you in the face with like, oh my god moments. And I think that's why GYO is such a great movie, and it's clearly done with the spirit of the manga behind it, because it still follows a lot of the common themes of the manga. So yeah, okay, maybe it's a different concept and maybe it's a different twist on the whole story, but it still works overall. And I think that that's why if I had to review GYO or Tokyo Fish Attack between an A through F, I'm going to give it a solid B-. I think that this movie was great. I really do think it was great. You know, you might be thinking, well, wait, why not higher than if it's a B? You know, you're giving it a B-. Well, you just said it's great. I have to take into fact, because I always try to make this where it's not obviously too biased. You know, I take into fact that horror is not for everyone. Horror is very subjective. It's the same concept with comedy, that these are types of stories that some people might find like, whoa, what the... and then others might be grossly affected by it. I was watching this with Memory Reacts and Professor Anime, and what was funny was some of the scenes that they were getting disturbed by, I was like, oh, wow, that happened. I wasn't disturbed by it because I've seen worse scenes in movies than that. But some of the stuff they took away, horrific, I didn't take away that way. And then some of the scenes that I saw that were messed up, they just, you know, kind of were placid with. It's just how people react to this type of genre. That's why, you know, I want to make sure that I give it a fair review. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, listen, yeah, I loved it. If I had to give my own personal score, it'd probably be a B+ or even an A-. But I want to also take into the fact that you guys are going to watch it. And you know what? I'll say right now, regardless, it's not as bad as the scores are giving it. I think that it's for an hour, like I think hour and 10 minute long movie, you'll enjoy it. If you love horror, this is going to be a movie that you'll enjoy. Just go into, if you're a manga fan, without the assumption that it's going to be an exact clone of the manga, and just don't go into the assumption that this is going to be like a jump scare movie. It's just a weird, outlandish movie, typical of Junji Ito's works. If you read Spirals or Uzumaki, if you read Tomy, you know what to expect from his work. You know that he does weird shit with his stuff. So go into that with that mindset, and you'll enjoy this movie profoundly. Anyways, guys and girls, I will talk to you later. I hope you enjoyed this review. As always, if you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, tell me what you liked about the movie, if you liked it. If you hated it, tell me too. What you hate about the movie? I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to freaking go, hey, you know, what your opinion is wrong. I'm not going to do that. As always, guys and girls, until our paths cross again in the next review, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great, blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.